Did you know that despite the insane popularity and a pretty hefty ChatGPT Pro subscription plan priced at $200 per month, OpenAI is still losing money? Unbelievable, right? Any guesses why? Well, to quote Sam Altman, people use it much more than we expected. And it's true. From writing emails to asking crazy questions, people are all over the place when it comes to artificial intelligence. As per a report by Crunchbase, over 300 million people use AI apps worldwide, with most of them being chatbots and image editing tools. And it goes without saying that developers make a significant chunk of this group. So, with intelligent tools getting a lot of attention in 2025 and a steep increase in their integration into the development workflow, it makes a lot of sense to take a look at what's available out there. In this video, we'll explore not one, not five, but 7 truly intelligent tools and extensions for web development that you can start using today for free. Hi, I'm Aquib and you're already watching Code with Aquib, where I share content on programming and web development. We talk about best practices, useful tools and extensions, and build some projects. In this video, I'm going to show you some incredibly useful tools super powered by artificial intelligence that will make your lives as developers a whole lot easier. But then this isn't just a list. The thing is, there are dozens of different tools out there and most of them do the exact same thing. Sure, some tools might work better than the others, but the point is there are a lot of options. So in order for you to make the most out of this video, I'm going to be dividing the tools into 3 categories: tools for code generation, tools for debugging, and tools for documentation. These are the 3 most prominent use cases where AI can be integrated into the development workflow, and hence talking about them makes the most sense. I don't need to tell you how tedious it is to get the basic templates up and running before we get to coding the real stuff. I mean, repeating the same steps over and over again every time we create a new project? Come on, it's 2025. That is something we should be able to automate by now, right? Well, turns out we sure can. So that's where we start. Let's look at tools that can assist us with code generation. Alright, the only other thing that you need to know before we start using these tools or extensions is the fact that they're available to us in different ways. We can go to their website and download individual applications, standalone applications, depending on what device you are using. You could use them in browser, kind of like how we use ChatGPT. So we type our prompts in the browser and get responses in the browser. Or my favorite way to use them is to use them as extensions to an IDE, because that way we don't have to leave our coding environment. Most of the tools that we're about to discuss are available as extensions to most of the popular IDEs out there. I'm currently using VS Code, and all of these tools, well, almost all of them are available as extensions. Let's start with the first tool for code generation, which is GitHub's Copilot. So I'm going to head over to the extensions option here and then just type out GitHub Copilot, and it'll be the first thing that shows up. So this is the one which says your AI pair programmer. Now the other thing would be that you will have to create accounts or sign up to use most of these tools, even though they are free, because of the fact that they are all using AI in one way or the other, and they will restrict the amount of prompts you can have in the free version. So even though technically you're not paying anything, we still have to create a free account to use these tools. So I'm going to install this one, and then in the instructions, if you see, it tells you sign up for GitHub Copilot free. You can just click on the link and sign up quickly. I already have signed up here, as you can see. I was using it earlier as well. So what Copilot does is it opens up this terminal or this chat window right within VS Code, and then we can talk to it and get it to do whatever we want. But interestingly, the other thing is there's another option here, which is this button which says edit with Copilot, and this is currently in the preview right now, but we could add our file here and then it would sort of know what files are available and it will help us actually create new files. For example, what we could do is we can say create a new form submission file or something like that, right? And it is going to be smart enough to actually recognize that we are using a JavaScript project. So it went ahead and it created a JavaScript file with relevant methods, etc., which are available for a standard form, right? So if I just expand on it just to see what it has done, you can see it has handle form submission, it has add event listener for submit, etc. So this is really important and interesting, and it also helps us or waits for us to actually accept. So if we wanted to make any changes there, we could actually just go ahead and tell it that, oh, we don't like it, or we want you to change this. So you can see here it is actually waiting for an accept or a discard message. So only when we accept it will the changes actually be saved. And then if you discard it, well, it will simply discard it and then, retry or ask us how we would want it to change it this time around. So this is how code generation works with Copilot. We can also generate standard code directly in the Copilot menu, for example. So you can see, it shows the current file form submission. So let's say add method to validate email maybe, and I will hit enter then. And it's going to go ahead and give us a method which can help us validate email. But this time around, it's not going to add it to the file directly, right? It's only giving us as a prompt here. And then we can click on the button here, which will then go ahead and use the editor to then add it to the file. And then it'll go ahead and, pretty much do what we did with the edit panel here. So this is pretty much how Copilot works. Very interesting for code generation and very useful as well. There are two other tools that I would like to quickly highlight. I won't go into the details of how they work. You can explore that on your own, but they are very similar to Copilot. But of course, most of these tools have their own real niche or specialty. So Copilot works well for all generic situations. And then you can also experiment with these other two tools. So the second one is called Codium. This is how it's spelled, Codeium. And this is similar to what Copilot does. It opens up a chat window and it supports some 70+ languages. So we can work with this as well. You can see a preview. It's pretty much the same thing as Copilot. But what this one is really good at is prompt completion, right? So if you give or if you start typing a method, it will be able to recognize what you want and then complete it. So you can experiment with that. Again, you will have to install it, create an account, and then you'll be able to use it. The other thing that we have, the third tool, is actually called Rubber Duck. I know the name is quite witty, but what this does differently is that it actually works with ChatGPT, which is directly with OpenAI. And to use this one, you actually need a valid OpenAI API key. So OpenAI is the company that owns ChatGPT or that created ChatGPT. So you need to have an OpenAI API key, which is not free, in order to use this. But again, this tool is basically the OpenAI version of Copilot, and it's very useful as well. So you can go ahead and experiment with these two tools. You might be able to get a free version with limited prompts, so you can experiment with that as well. So these are some tools that you can add to your workflow for generating code when you start setting up your web applications going forward. Now that our application is up and running, can you guess what the next hurdle is? Let me give you a hint. Did you know that the first bug was an actual bug literally stuck in the hardware? The bug sure disappeared, but the name clearly stuck. And so let's take a look at some tools that are incredibly useful for getting rid of these bugs faster. Out of all the tools that I have used so far when it comes to finding errors or debugging faster, the one tool that has been very helpful particularly has been this extension called Tab 9. And this is what that looks like. So Tab 9, it says that it's an auto completion assistant, which it is. So it also does most of what Copilot and the other tools do. But what this one is particularly good at is debugging or fixing issues in the code, right? Again, I have it already set up. You will have to install it, create an account, and then use it. But Tab 9 does have a sign up with GitHub shortcut. So you don't really have to fill anything in, just click on that. And if you're already logged into GitHub, it's going to create an account directly and that's pretty much it. So it's sort of a one-click thing and it's very easy to do. Once that is set up, let's go ahead and see how we can actually use it. It does show up in the menu as well. This is what it looks like, and it shows up in the chat as well. So you could chat with it, but the real use case here is actually using it within or inside the code directly. So let me go ahead and put in some errors, right? Let's go ahead and remove a bracket. Maybe let's remove a semicolon somewhere else. And then the first thing that you will see is that it is automatically suggesting this for us. And this is the suggestion which is coming from tab 9. So this semicolon bit is automatically coming from there. But if you hover over an error, you will see this bulb shows up, and then you will see different options. If you pick the one which says quick fix, you have an option which says fix with tab 9. And you can see the other tools also have similar options, but this one is particularly good at doing the fixes. So it's going to take a minute, figure out what is going on, and then hopefully it should be able to get it right and add whatever is needed, right? Again, you'll see it added the bracket and then it's not in the right place. So I'm going to go ahead and discard this change. But again, it should be able to work with most use cases. Let's see this one. So quick fix, fix with tab 9. Let's go ahead and see if it works this time around. And you will see this time it gets it done. It knows the bracket is missing. So accept this change and we are good, right? So again, there are options. It works in some cases. It doesn't work in some other cases. That's AI for you. The other tool that you can check out for this particular use case is something called Code GPT, which is also very interesting. So this is again chat and AI agents. It works very similarly, but it does a really good job at fixing errors as well. I really think some of these tools can increase our sleep time by helping us resolve issues faster. Finally, last but not least, let's look at some tools for documentation. Now, I know that documentation is something that a lot of developers don't really pay much attention to, and that is exactly why we should be looking at automating it with the help of AI. Alright, so when it comes to the documentation, the only tool that you really need to work with is this one, which is basically called Mintlify Doc Writer. And this works with most programming languages as well. Again, very, very simple. All you need to do is go to the code that you wanted to write for you or document for you, select the code that you want, open up the extension. So this is the one, and then just click on the button which says generate docs. And that's it. It's going to go ahead and write a nice little comment above the method or the function telling you exactly what it does. So there are two parts to it. The first one talks about what this does, and then the second one basically talks about all the parameters that we need or use in the function, right? Again, very neat, very simple. It works for really complex logic as well. It is able to figure out what the code is going to do based on the console statements and the output that we use, and just write a quick little document or comment it out for us. The other tool, even though it's not really intelligent in that way, is called Better Comments. And I have actually mentioned this in another video before as well. But this one is something that you can consider as well. It actually gives us some highlights, different syntaxes which you can use to highlight different things, right? So for example, an exclamation shows up in red, the question mark shows up in blue, and it just allows us to work with things better. We know where what is because of these highlights. So again, it's very simple. In the comment, we just highlight it like this, and it's going to go ahead and change the colors to tell us what is more important, what needs fixing, depending on how you want to work with it. So that's another tool for you. It's called Better Comments. It's technically not intelligent, but really handy when it comes to documentation. And there we go. These are some tools that can help us maintain our code better by automatically generating the documentation for it. And then, as always, since you watched this video till the end, here's a bonus tool for you. Don't you hate it when you misspell a variable name and then you end up copy pasting it a bunch of times? Well, that is where the next tool comes in. The tool I'm talking about is called Code Spell Checker, and it basically does what the name says. Right, so if I go to the extensions real quick, it's called Code Spell Checker. I'm going to quickly install it. And then if you look at the example here, it pretty much tells you what it does. But basically, if we go ahead and if we type a variable name which is incorrect, for example, let me try typing in username and I'll misspell it intentionally this time around and say John, you will see a scribbly line shows up, and then when we go ahead and quick fix it, you will see it gives us some suggestions, and I can pick username from the list and fix the spelling that way. So it's a quick little tool which helps us actually prevent spelling mistakes in our code. And that's it. That completes our list of some incredibly useful AI tools and extensions for web development in 2025 that you can start using today for free. If you found this video useful, consider subscribing to the channel for more content on programming and web development. Do like the video and share it with your friends so that they get to know about these tools as well. If you have any questions around what we discussed, drop them in the comments below and I'll answer them. Additionally, if you want me to cover any other topic in depth, do let me know in the comments as well, and I'll try to create a video on it. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, happy coding.